For decades, if you were looking to do business in Algeria, well, it was a tough nut to crack. We're talking about an economy dominated by the state, running almost entirely on oil and gas. But that might be changing. Algeria is rolling out some really bold new reforms, and the goal is to completely shake up its economic model. So in this explainer, we're going to dig into what those changes actually are and ask, is this for real?
And that's really the big question, isn't it? It's one thing to put new laws on the books, but it's a whole other thing to actually overcome decades of history and attract the kind of investment you need to build a modern, diversified economy.
Okay, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at why Algeria is at this economic crossroads in the first place. What's the urgent need for change? Then we'll get into the exciting part, how the country is opening for business. We'll check out the official reforms on the record. And then we've got to be realistic and look at the major hurdles that are still ahead.
So to really get where Algeria is headed, you first have to understand where it's been. For the longest time, its economy has been all about two things: massive state control and a deep, deep reliance on its natural resources. But that model is starting to show some serious cracks.
And wow, this chart really tells a story. Almost everything Algeria sells to the world is hydrocarbons. That makes the entire country's budget a hostage to the crazy swings of global energy prices. When oil prices are high, everything's great. But when they crash, it sends a massive shockwave through the whole system. You just can't build a stable future on that kind of volatility.
And this right here, this really gets to the heart of the problem. For a country its size, with its location, Algeria has just not been attracting foreign investment. Look at this. In 2023, FDI was just 0.5% of its GDP. That's literally half the average for other emerging economies. So what was scaring investors away? Well, for a long time, this was public enemy number one for foreign investors, the infamous 51-49 rule. It basically said that if you wanted to start a business in Algeria, an Algerian partner had to own at least 51% of it. For most international companies, that's a deal breaker. You're not going to pour in millions of dollars, your technology, and your expertise if you can't even have majority control.
Okay, so recognizing all these issues, the Algerian government has launched a pretty significant wave of reforms. The goal is clear: tear down those old walls and send a massive signal to the world that Algeria is finally, truly open for business.
And this isn't just a single tweak, it's a whole strategy. First, and this is huge, they got rid of that 51-49 rule for most sectors. Boom, gone. Second, they're tackling the nightmare of bureaucracy with a new law that creates one single digital platform for everything. And third, they've passed a new land law to make it easier for investors to actually get the property they need to set up shop.
Just look at the difference here. It's like night and day. The old way was a maze of red tape, ownership caps, and just uncertainty. The new way promises a one-stop shop called APII, the ability to own 100% of your business in most cases, easier land access, and a legal framework you can actually understand. It's a total transformation, at least on paper.
Now let's talk about the official commitment. It's one thing to announce a bunch of cool new laws, right? But it's another thing to really back them up and show the world that this is a genuine, long-term shift.
And we don't just have to take their word for it. Check out this quote from a recent IMF report. The Algerian authorities are telling these major international bodies, point blank, that diversification and private business are now top priorities. When you're saying that to the IMF, you're signaling to the entire global financial community that you're serious.
And the reforms don't just stop at the big investment laws. They're building a whole new ecosystem, a new procurement law to make government contracts more transparent, a new mining code to attract investment there. They're even creating a legal status for freelancers to bring more people into the formal economy. And this is a big one, a national guarantee for intellectual property protection.
But, and you knew there was a but coming, right? Turning around a massive state-run economy is like trying to turn an oil tanker. It just doesn't happen overnight. And while these new laws are a fantastic step, Algeria still has some pretty major structural challenges to deal with.
Whoa, just take a look at this number. A staggering 42% of the country's workers are in the informal economy. That means they're working off the books, not paying taxes, not part of the system. That is a huge chunk of the economy to bring into the modern world, and it's a really delicate balancing act.
Another big risk, and the IMF points this out, comes from the country's huge network of state-owned enterprises, or SOEs. These companies are everywhere, in every sector, and they come with major financial risks.
The chance that the government might have to bail them out or pump more money into them is seen as having a high impact on the economy, which could suck up resources meant for these new private sector reforms.
So, at the end of the day, these new investment laws are an absolutely crucial start, but real, lasting change means going deeper. It means reforming how those state-owned companies are run. It means making labor markets more flexible so new companies can actually compete and grow. That's the next level of this whole process.
And that brings us right back to where we started. Algeria has put a bold, new game plan on the table, maybe the most significant economic opening in a generation. The laws are there, the talk is there. The real question is whether this new foundation, plus the political will to tackle those deeper challenges, will be enough to finally unlock Algeria's incredible potential and build an economy that can thrive long after the oil and gas are gone.